for Black America, it's just another year. You knew the disrespect by your elected puppeteers, but let me show you how to persevere.
We up! IG, what's good? YouTube! If you're wondering who we're grooving to right now, this beautiful music playing in the background, it is Amel Larrieux from her Infinite Possibility album. The song is Infinite Possibilities. Nice groovy song. All of my neo soul people, y'all know this joint. This is a nice little groove right here.
I didn't know it. I consider myself a neo soul person.
Well, I'm super neo soul people.
Like that.
But you probably heard the song before though, right?
But would you consider me neo soul or not really? I'm really on board.
I think you appreciate it.
Oh, I do appreciate it.
And I know most of them when I play it around, you listen to it.
I think maybe I'm more of a old neo soul person.
You're like at the top layer, right? But then you dig down into the depths.
What's the top layer?
Top layer would be like Music Soul Child, Marsha Ambrosius, you know, Erykah Badu, right? But when you get down into the weeds, that's like, you start getting into your Erro Robersons, you start getting into your Amel Larrieux, when you start getting into some of the older internet albums, right? Sade, you know, stuff like that. And you know, that's getting a little deeper down into it.
I see we got some people here. Let us know in the comments. Shout out where you from.
Yeah, rep your city.
Where you at? Where you at?
So let's get ready to get into it. Look, it's your boy Jay DaCosta.
It is your girl Kat.
And together we are the Nitty Gritty. Look, we got a lot of stuff to cover today. Of course, we still see more police killings. That's crazy. I don't even know how. Just in the midst of everything going on, you think the police would do their darn best to de-escalate, especially with dealing with people of color.
To de-escalate, but no. But I think it's because they've been so used to killing unarmed black men, and there being no repercussions. So I think they feel like, well, what's going to happen? Nothing, because we're protected by various unions. We, up until recently, nothing has happened. We usually just get fired or a slap on the wrist, but that's about it. The fact that Breonna Taylor's killers are still out there, but they have a law now. How do you have a law but you still ain't arrest the person who committed the crime? Tell me how that makes sense. Tell me.
Yeah. Yo, shout out to my boy Jason, gonna be in my wedding. That's one of my ace boom coons. This is my dude since APSU. What's up, people? It's Jason Carver, Indianapolis in the building. My dude, fellow military, all of that.
Your mom let
Actually, I got all kinds of military
Your mom
people
let
in
you
here.
know Tennessee in the house.
Yeah, Herman Altar, Mamie Altar, Tennessee in the house, Tennessee in the building. What's good? I love y'all.
She let you know she repping her.
If you in the chat right now, rep yo city, Clarksville, Tennessee, let's go. I'm real hype right now.
You are hype.
Yeah, thank y'all for being on. We got a lot of ground to cover, so we're going to get into some Juneteenth because Juneteenth is the 19th of this month. That's this coming Friday. So we want to talk about it beforehand, right? Give y'all a little history on Juneteenth, make it a little educational.
If you're taking off Juneteenth, let us know in the comments if you are and what you plan to do during that day.
Yeah. How do you plan to celebrate? We'll even talk about some of the historic ways Juneteenth had been celebrated across the United States. So this will be good. This will be a good informational show, right?
Information.
Also, we'll get into some of the foolishness from our president still. We won't let that go unaddressed. Dave Chappelle dropped some stuff. And we'll even get into this most recent killing in some more further detail along in the show. R.I.P. Rayshard Brooks. So, without further delay, let's get into some current news. A lot of people were probably just shocked. Herman said, "Juan, you are hype." So I was shocked to find out, but I think most of us may have jumped the gun on the news because I haven't read anything from a credible source that says it. But Beyonce is selected to be involved. We know for sure in Black Panther 2. We know there's talks going on. The rumor is, and what's most majority, I guess what the majority is starting to believe is that she has been selected to play Storm. For all my comic book geeks out there, if you don't know, Storm is a character whose real name is Aurora Monroe. She's of African descent. In certain iterations of the comics, she marries the Black Panther. In some iterations, she don't. You may remember that Halle Berry played the role in the original X-Men movies that came out through Fox Studios.
People didn't like it for some reason.
I mean, I think what it is it was a cash grab. Like, she's a big actress, you got her to play the role, but none of her superhero movies worked out well. I mean, Catwoman was a joke. She didn't really do great as Storm, but they made it work, right? Hugh Jackman embodied the role, even though he wasn't the best casting, because he's too tall. He's like 6 foot.
I thought he was an excellent Wolverine.
But the real Wolverine is more or less like 5'5" and stocky. He made the role his, but if you're a true comic book fan, you know, he was too big.
I think he did good, and I think the guy that played Professor X did an excellent job.
Oh yeah, you're talking about
the guy from Star Trek.
Yeah.
He did an excellent job.
John, I'm about to say his character's name. I can't think of his real name
right now. Because he's older, he's bald.
Oh yeah, he was like perfect casting for
Professor X.
So we'll see. So I don't know if she's actually playing Storm. I hope not. My pick was always DeWanda Wise. I thought she would have made an amazing Storm, or at least someone of African descent to keep the role pure.
Would you do a young person, like would you do a Kiki, what's her last name?
Kiki Palmer?
Yeah.
No, for Storm? Nah. I mean, she would do a better job than Beyonce, because everybody knows Beyonce can't act for saving her life. Look, she could put on a heck of a show. She could dance, she could sing. She's a talented artist, just not in front of a camera when it's time to actually act. All right, so, you know, hopefully it's not...
DeWanda Wise was... She
looks
like Storm.
Yeah.
But I don't know DeWanda Wise's acting chops outside of She's Gotta Have It, which was a really weird role. And honestly, from what I hear about her, she's weird, so that role fit her perfectly. So I would be...
But acting is acting. Doesn't matter how, like, for instance, Johnny Depp is weird, but he pulled off a lot of different roles.
But Johnny Depp is known for being weird.
But, I mean, he did movies like Johnny Brasco where he wasn't weird at all. Actually, pretty normal undercover FBI agent. Great movie. Check it out. Johnny Brasco. It was great. Okay. Good acting from him, right? So anyways, also in current news, the NBA, I know they want to start their season to finish. However, there's about 200 players out there that don't want to play because they don't want to have to, like, right now the idea would be is they will all use Disneyland. That's the current plan is they would use Disneyland and everybody would be housed there. They would play the games that way to keep everyone safe and tested. But there are some folks out there like Kyrie Irving and probably like another, they said 200 some odd players that do not want to come back and finish the season. So
can I just say one thing before we move on? I find it frustrating, being that I am a basketball fan, and that LeBron James in his like the 17th season or
17th or 18th season,
something like that,
it's up there,
was on track to get another ring, and people always want to discredit him for his accomplishments because they say he ain't got no rings, and this was the year he's supposed to get another ring. So I don't know. I get frustrated because I feel like if they wait until next year, everybody gonna be healthy. It's gonna be harder for him to get a ring. This is an easy ring grab. Easy.
I know, right? Jason says she's a great, referring to Beyonce. She is a great entertainer, but her acting, you know.
And I'm a huge Beyonce fan, but I can admit her acting is.
And a lot of the Beehive hasn't been super supportive of her either. I think I think they know, like, yeah, Beyonce ain't the greatest actor.
They've been quiet.
She ain't the greatest speaker, let alone actor. So yeah, she's not gonna leave that alone.
Did you like Chadwick Boseman as Black Panther?
I think he did a good job. I mean, there were some guys that I would have chose over him. Like for instance, the young man that does the movie Brian Banks. I think he would have been a good casting. The guy from
he's built too.
Yeah,
I mean he's strong and tall.
Also, the other brother that was in what's the movie? I can't think of the name of it. Moonlight. That plays the oldest iteration of the main character. I thought he would have been a good casting. I thought they both have the build. Black Panther is known to be not a super built guy, but have some kind of like size to him, like a dominant kind of force in his build. Chadwick Boseman isn't that. He's a little more like one of these slender, more like sprinter athletic build, and there's nothing wrong with that. But he did a great job. So, you know, I mean, we'll see. I mean, sometimes someone may not be the exact casting to the comic books, but then you have someone like a Hugh Jackman who embodies the role of Wolverine, and it works. Or look at all the various people who've played James Bond, right? And all of them have done well in their own way, you know?
Although Pierce Brosnan probably is my favorite.
See, I actually like Daniel Craig, the latest one. I like him.
I like him too. I don't say I dislike him. I don't know why. I just like the Pierce Brosnan.
My favorite was always Sean Connery, though. Sean Connery was always my favorite Bond.
Sean was great.
So, you know, I mean, you know, everybody has their own thing. We'll see. I mean, who knows? Beyonce might get some dope acting lessons. She may go, if she was to be Storm, she might go after and end up being a big
I guess because she has the lighter skin, so maybe they were going for the East African look.
I don't know. We'll just have to see what they do with that.
Because my understanding is that they were very intentional about getting chocolate skin for Black Panther because they wanted to embody a lot of the West African culture. That's what I understood in the first casting.
I don't know. So we'll see. Then also for all my gamers out there, Xbox Series X and PlayStation 5 was revealed. I think those systems are going to run for about $600. Is like what's being the numbers thrown out there. They haven't put an exact date out, but they're saying this holiday season. So I think that's going to be dope. Also, if you haven't checked it out, which I think most people have, but if you haven't, Dave Chappelle actually dropped a new special.
It's not comedy though.
It's a talk with punchlines is how he describes it, and I think that's very accurate, right?
Talk with punchlines.
I mean, from the onset of his conversation, he is livid and pissed off, and obviously he's going through a lot of the same emotions that I think a lot of Black America is going through, and I had to applaud his effort because he said some things that I guess depending on where you are in corporate America or depending on what kind of job you have or where you're at in life, you may not have the levity, you may not have basically the money when it comes down to say what you feel and deal with the repercussions. Dave Chappelle's in a place that he could say what he wanted to say, and if people were to cancel him tomorrow, it wouldn't matter because he's going to be all right. And you're right, I don't think he would care, and I think that's what makes his conversation and his platform so beautiful, so remarkable. I think that's why they helped him win the Mark Twain Award. But if you haven't checked out 842, you can see the whole thing on YouTube. So even if you don't have a Netflix account, you can actually check the whole thing on YouTube. It's there. It's out there. It's like 25 minutes.
Anytime you're willing to walk away from some money, that lets me know right there you don't really care about the opinions of people. Because money can't move you. He walked away from how much again?
I think it was 50 million or 100 million at the time. Something like that.
And that was like back in the day.
Yeah, so I'm just saying, and it would have been even more money had he just stuck around for the ride. So I thought that was interesting. But yeah, if you haven't seen that Dave Chappelle special, go check it out. Really good. I mean, he really hits a lot of different things going on. Actually calls out a few people on there. And check it out. It's really good. I don't want to give away anything, so I'm just going to leave it like that. Because trust me, I can have a whole conversation. And we probably will in the nitty gritty, but let's give people a chance to go watch it. So anyways, let's get down to the nitty gritty. So yes, this Friday is Juneteenth. I'll be curious to see how you guys are going to celebrate and commemorate Juneteenth. I think this is something we're seeing a resurgence of the commemoration of Juneteenth. It used to be a really big deal in the African American communities, going from the late 1860s till about the 1920s, and then we've seen a slump, and how the parades, the celebrations, and the various different things we did. Your cousin Rayon, isn't he in Jamaica right now?
No, he's in Florida.
He's in Florida?
He's Jamaican.
Hey, but still, Jamaica in the building, what's up, cuz? Florida in the building, what's good? Rayon! Alright, yeah, but definitely, this Friday is Juneteenth. And, there's a lot of people talking about Juneteenth. There's a lot of people advocating to get paid holidays off due to Juneteenth. I saw that, I think it was Google and Twitter put out that they are going to make it a paid holiday for all of their employees. So that's dope.
People say from a HR / company experience when it comes to comparing all the social media platforms, they say Twitter is definitely one of the best.
Yeah, I've heard that. Working from there is a great experience.
And other platforms I've heard.
I'll be honest, and I'm not going to say where I work, but I haven't advocated for my company to give it off. I'm taking the day off because I have PTO accrued. So I took the day off. Actually, I'm making a 4-day weekend of it off, right? There's going to be some things going on, festivities going on here in DC, and I'm going to participate. I'm going to social distance. I'm going to protect myself and make sure I'm protecting those around me. But I do plan on participating in Million Man Mo. All right, another version of Mochella.
You see my cousin? He said, "Ba ba ba
ba ba ba." Let's go. Yeah.
When y'all meet, y'all gonna have a good time.
Yeah. So hopefully I'll see you in April. That'll be dope. You know what I'm saying? So we have that coming on, and me personally, as a strategy to Juneteenth, I think that'd be dope if we can make it a federal holiday or make companies recognize it. But I think the strategy is, I think we should bring it to municipalities, right? If you feel like there's a day that, for your culture, and for those in white America that may not understand, It's a big deal. I'll read you guys a little information from it. It dates back to 1865. It was on June 19th that the Union soldiers led by Major General Gordon Granger landed at Galveston, Texas with the news that the war had ended and that the enslaved were now free. No, this was 2.5 years after President Lincoln's Emancipation Proclamation, which had become official January 1st, 1863. So keep in mind, even though the Emancipation Proclamation was at the very beginning of 1863 when it went into effect, because of the lack of soldiers and troops from the Union to go around and actually to enforce the law, there were various places throughout the South, not just Texas, where they didn't honor the actual release of slaves or freeing of slaves from duty.
At
right?
first they was like, this is how we earn our bread and butter. Why would I release slaves when I don't know how I'm gonna get this labor done? I don't know how I'm gonna be ready for next year. So I'm gonna continue to, and what they were doing, from my understanding, was using mind manipulation and like basically telling the slaves, well, you can leave, but you won't have no place to go. You don't have any clothes. You don't have any food. At least with me, that's how sharecropping came around. Even though we know how that was. At least with me, you'll be able to be taken care of. And when you've been mentally, how do you want to say, when you don't even have when you've been enslaved mentally like that for so long, you probably don't even have the gumption to want to go.
And then, you know, if you read up on the history, you know, people's reaction to the freeing of slaves, some were shocked, some couldn't believe, some immediately celebrated. But there were a lot of people that were trying to maintain the status quo, that were basically rebellious. You've seen it in places like Louisiana, Arkansas, Oklahoma. And what happened is people started moving out to like those areas, right? Because what happened is some of those states started kind of like adhering to the guidelines sooner. There's a reason why Tulsa, Black Wall Street, was what it was, because during that time, the late 1800s, blacks went Midwest. That's how a lot of them got there. That's how a lot of them got to Chicago. People from the slave trade, you've seen that people who escaped slavery, they went up north, right? And you've seen a lot of people, if you were like in Mississippi or if you was in Alabama, a lot of them went out west. Or if you were in Texas and you knew of the news and you were trying to get out, you went to places like Arkansas and Oklahoma, right, where they were honoring it and trying to catch up with loved ones that had moved out that way. So what happened is the result of that are cities like Tulsa, where the black community had built in such a way that the dollar traveled like maybe 20 times, if not more, within it. And then, of course, the jealousy came from their white neighbors or the white members of their society. And they actually sought to burn a lot of these cities down. A lot of what we know about these cities have almost been lost in history because of what happened. So when we talk about Juneteenth, I think it's important that people understand the history. Back in the day, a lot of people used to actually make annual pilgrimages back to Galveston on this date, because that was like the final date where it was like, listen, no more slavery, this is it, we're pushing this thing forward. So it used to be that big celebrations were actually held in Galveston, Texas. Everything from rodeos, fishing, barbecuing, and baseball. A lot of people don't know it, but the Memphis and Mays, going up to a lot of the celebrations that we see in the summer, the barbecuing, it has a history. When you talk about black people barbecuing and having a good time, a lot of it has to do with Juneteenth. We don't even realize we think, oh, we're just barbecuing because of the weather. You go barbecue all year long. It don't matter how cold it is outside. You can always throw something on a grill, right? But the reason why we tend as a culture, and I think we've lost that, the reason why we celebrate, the reason why we barbecue, the reason why we party in the summertime, it actually has a root back to Juneteenth. And I think what happened is sometime in the 1940s, we seen that there was a generation that came that kind of fell away from that. A lot of that also has to do with, you know, World War I and then World War II, of refocusing of what America was doing. And then for the first time, you had a group of black people that kind of wanted to celebrate America because of our place in the world. So then we moved from focusing on that to now refocusing on July 4th. But when we talk about Juneteenth, especially in a country that always wants to remind you, never forget, right? I think it's important for black people that we do that. And I think it's important for white America to understand the importance of this celebration, because this was the first step to trying to heal an original sin. And it's a shame that it would actually take a whole 100 years before those black folks will be able to vote, right? So right now, I think we're at a crucial time in 2020 where it's like, hey, we could take the next step to healing, which is reparations, which is truly reforming the police, demilitarizing them, and making them truly about their real mission, which is to protect and serve all of the community, right? When a portion of the community is being assaulted and killed at a higher rate than others, it's kind of hard, right, to be on the side of the police, and that's why we have all these various things going on. But there's a history here, and you can see the history to Juneteenth.
Can I also say with the history, and we're celebrating Juneteenth, for me, what I think I'm going to do is, one thing about being black that I think I just love, and I feel it in my spirit, is just, we are such a resilient people. I feel like with all of the adversity we've had since slavery and Jim Crow, and I feel like just the fact that we're able to get up and still try to make something of ourselves, just the fact that we're able to still have a little block party when, when music come on like Frank and Beverly, we all know, and we all sing, and we all do a line dance, and we have rhythm, and we're creative, and we create culture. And I just want to just say that it is an honor to be black. Like, for you to consistently be beaten down generation after generation, law after law, people, systemic racism, and for you to still get back up every single day, look the world in the eye and say, I'm going to do my best, even if the best is passing on trauma generation to generation. I just want to say it's an honor to be black, because I don't think any other culture or race would be able to be where we are at, or at least still have as much joy that we have. They try to take our joy from us, but I don't think people would be able to still, celebrate in the streets and still, like I said, line dance and love on one another. So I plan on, that day, I think I plan on eating some barbecue, being amongst black folks, getting some nice good seasoned chicken, okay? Putting on some really good cocoa butter and just dashiki it out, and just realizing that I am black, I'm proud, we swagged out, we out here doing it in DC with my mask.
Yeah, and I think, and I think people should, a lot of times, even in our culture, we can be critical of each other because the emphasis we place on clothes, and food, and maybe sometimes we feel like we're overindulging in it. And I think there's a line to be drawn, right? I don't think sometimes it's one thing to dress nice. It's one thing to buy maybe labels for one that don't even want you wearing it, to maybe if you're spending more on the clothes you're wearing versus the roof over your head, I think that's when it's out of order. But I will say this, when it comes to Juneteenth, dress was a very important element in those early Juneteenth customs, because it was often still taken seriously, because what happened is the direct descendants of those slaves, you couldn't wear nice clothes back in those days. Mm-hmm. If you go to the African American Museum right here in DC, they actually have pictures of the difference in quality between the boots and shoes made for those who were of slave descent versus those who were white, right? Mm-hmm. So when you talk about in our culture, people wanting to be fly, we're the best things, a lot of it is, once again, passed down, and sometimes you don't even understand why it's passed down. And it started right here in these Juneteenth celebrations. People for that day would dress their best when they went on these, mind you, it's hot outside, it's June, okay? But when they went on these marches, they actually have video of it at the African American Museum in DC. I think the Smithsonian should be opening up during phase 3, limited occupancy, but they'll start opening up again. You should visit if you haven't been. But when you've seen our people proud to wear nice clothes and look good and feel good because they have been denied that privilege, right? We don't realize why our grandparents made such a big deal of maybe dressing up on Sunday, or our great-grandparents, but a lot of it has a root in Juneteenth. Exactly. And so I think if you want to, on Juneteenth, if you got the money and you got the Yeezys, you got the Jordans, you got some red bottoms, go to a really nice cookout or event and rock that. You know what I'm saying? Wear your mask too. Be safe. But I don't think there's nothing wrong with it. Also, keep in mind, when even at the importance of barbecuing, you got to think, back then, people of color couldn't buy stuff like lamb and pork and chicken and beef. But for this occasion right here, people would save up sometimes a few months' salary just so they could go out and buy a smorgasbord, like, you know, to buy the best meats and the best bread and the best cheese, and they would barbecue. So some people may feel like it's, in access to go out and cook a huge meal and to have some ribs and to have some, some chicken, some sea bass, some saltfish, red snapper, whatever it is that floats your boat. I feel like Juneteenth should be that day as we bring it back to the forefront. It should be a day to re-educate history and culture to our children, to our communities, to invite other communities in to be educated and to take part in some of our customs and our history. But then it's also, I think, a time just to let your hair down, right, and have a good time. Dress up, be fly, go to a barbecue, eat a piece of pound cake even when you're trying to lose weight, right? I think this should be a time for us to celebrate. We have so much that stresses us out. And if you look on the news, it seems like every day it's something. And I want to go back to what Juneteenth was about. It was a time to celebrate, to be jubilant. And I want to do that. I mean, there's so much to protest. There's so much that can anger you as a person of color in this country. But I would like to see us wear smiles on Juneteenth. I would like to see us be happy, to commemorate, to have a good time, to love, to feel. And I think that's what Juneteenth should be about. I'll be curious to see some of your comments out there. And I am happy to see that as ignorant as this guy is, Donald Trump did cancel his first rally, which was supposed to, of all places,
I wonder if
supposed
he
to be
canceled it
Tulsa,
because he got
Oklahoma.
wind that people was buying tickets that wasn't going to show up.
I don't know why. I don't really care why. I'm just happy that he canceled because, once again, as I just stated, I want us to have a good time on Juneteenth. And I think had he done that, it would have ruined what that day is supposed to be about. Juneteenth is supposed to be a day of celebration. And I understand there's a lot of protest. And there's a lot of things to fight. But this be the one day that we're able to put our guns down and to celebrate us. Because trust me, Saturday morning gonna come and we're gonna be right back to it. You know what I'm saying? Doing what we gotta do, being at the battlegrounds. But I'm hoping that we can take time to really celebrate on Juneteenth and actually put more effort into Juneteenth than we do for July 4th. Yeah, we're Americans and we're gonna shoot off fireworks and all that.
We're off, but I hope that with Juneteenth, I hope that the essence of community, I hope that the experience of just being amongst each other and loving on one another and having a good time, can then that same spirit and energy can then be permeated thereafter, and we can continue to build on that synergy. That's what I'm hoping. I understand why it's difficult to have that energy transferred and duplicated thereafter, but I'm hoping that I'm having hope that this year it will be different and we will come together. And then one last thing I want to say, because it almost slipped my mind, about these celebrities and buying labels. I find it interesting that celebrities, particularly black celebrities, will give free marketing to Saint Laurent and Louis Vuitton and Christian Louboutin and Gucci, but the moment someone says, "Hey, I'm a black owner and I have a T-shirt. Can you spend $20? Can you put it on your Instagram?" It's like they don't want to do it.
You know what? But one person,
it's interesting to me.
But there is one person I can celebrate who's actually done a great job of highlighting black labels, and that's Wale. It would be a DC brother that that get it done right.
And T-Pain. Yeah,
T-Pain has as well. Wale. He shouts out, there's a brand that I follow too. They got some dope stuff too. That Eat is one of them, but there's another one. It's like a high-end brand. He shouts them out in various raps like all the time. And shout out to Wale for always doing that. He'll brag about spending $10,000 with them, not buying Gucci. You get what I'm saying?
But the thing is, do black celebrities realize how much power they have? They create culture. So if you are a designer and I'm a black celebrity and other black celebrities are buying from you, now that's putting money in the community, because now everybody else who's not black, like, well, that's what they're wearing, so I'm going to wear what they're wearing.
And I think that's
we have the power to shift.
And I think that's what celebrities, black celebrities, have the most power. I think when you're trying to influence business decisions and culture, right? I think if you have a bunch of black celebrities posting, yeah, we throwing this huge Juneteenth party, you know what I'm saying? I think that's where their voice is better. I think it's nice to hear them be behind us when it comes to the protest, right? But at the same time, I think that's something where the majority has to be on board, right? Whether a celebrity agrees or not, because we have to vote, we have to be active, we have to participate. But I think when it comes to culture and how people buy and how people experience things of that nature, I think that's where celebrities play their biggest part. You get what I'm saying? Like that could be their largest form of activism in that alone.
I hope they realize their power and that they actually use it and capitalize on it going forward.
And then, so speaking about activism, taking a quick turn here, wanted to bring out the fact that it looks like Starbucks is banning any of their employees from wearing anything that resembles Black Lives Matter.
See, I heard differently too.
And so, only thing I have to say about this though, right, is why even make a statement if they did, right? And this goes for any company out there. I hope you're hearing this. Once you make especially a company where they have to wear a uniform.
Starbucks should have known better. Didn't they have an issue with the guys?
Yeah.
That were arrested?
Yeah, and I mean, that was an individual, right? But still, I think, whether it's true or not, the strategy is silly. It's like, why even bring attention to yourself? You'd be best to say nothing at all.
Right.
Because they gotta wear a uniform. That's like UPS saying...
Right, you gotta wear a little smock.
Yeah, that's like UPS saying, I don't want any of my people wearing anything Black Lives Matter oriented, yada, yada, yada.
Doesn't make sense.
It's like, okay, they gotta wear that brown uniform, so what else can they do? What else can they wear? It gets kind of silly. They would have been better not to say anything at all, but just to be on the safe side, I'm not buying Starbucks. I could get my coffee elsewhere. Honestly, I like stock coffee. That's what we typically buy.
Oh, and there's a lot of Ethiopian spots around too.
Yeah, we got like Sankofa and all that. Yeah, especially here in DC.
Good coffee, so
yeah, it's a bunch of dope
Starbucks
spots.
is not good. It's expensive, and I'm just they've had several instances where it's been questionable because in my understanding is that Starbucks had created a whole bunch of pride shirts and they were like so for it. But the moment it became Black Lives Matter, it was like, well, let's talk about this here. And I feel like if you're going to be about diversity and inclusion, you need to jump on everything.
Yeah,
when it comes your way.
You need to give that equal. You need to give that
have
equal
that same energy.
Yep.
Period.
And I think a lot of people still don't get it as far as the protest. I've seen a lot of comments out there from various celebrities, various individuals. You have people counter-protesting, saying, like it's not a big deal. There were like two white men during a protest actually putting their knees on each other's neck. That was actually a whole challenge out there in white America where people were taking pictures with their knees on someone's neck saying, look, I can still breathe. But the thing is, even the way that they have the weight shifted in their body, if you look at it, is a big difference from how this police officer, Chauvin, he knelt on his neck to cause pain. And now with more information coming out, it looks like it's going to be first degree murder anyways. But there's a big difference. And then two, I think what people don't understand, because there's comments out there saying, we're taking the side of these losers. That's the words these folks are using. And folks are trying to bring up George Floyd being in porn and blah, 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 blah. Who cares? It has nothing to do with how he was stopped.
Really?
Yeah, well, but it has nothing to do with how he was handled by the police at the time of his death.
Nothing you can do is justifying your death.
Yeah, and once again,
period.
The job of police officer is to de-escalate. So let's talk a little bit about Rayshard Brooks. If you haven't seen the video, it's hard to watch because you're literally going to watch a man die. There's nothing fun about watching a man die, especially in real life. But Rayshard Brooks, basically, he's in Atlanta. He's in his car. Some stories say he was sleeping in his car. Some people say he was just at his car locking it up. Whatever the case is, this man is at his car. Someone calls the police on him. Mm-hmm. We don't know who that someone is yet. Or at least I haven't seen that report. If
probably
you have,
a Karen.
Probably a Karen. But we don't know that for sure. All we know is somebody in Atlanta called the police on this gentleman that's at his car. Right? Now, the police come. You can verify via his ID and the license plate if this is his car. Mm-hmm. Right? He's not doing anything wrong. If you're a police officer, and mind you, I've had the job before. If you're a police officer, you come up on the scene, if there's no crime being acted out or no evidence of a crime, what reason do you have to arrest someone? Especially if you can, and if that person can prove I'm not loitering, I'm here visiting my sister. That's what he said. My sister's right there. We could prove it. There's no need for you to arrest this man. There's another situation where they try to say it was mistaken identity, where they end up handcuffing an FBI agent. And he had to tell them, reach in my back pocket, and they find out he's FBI agent.
And they was looking stupid.
And then also we've seen that Jay Farrow, famous comedian that was on SNL, he was also accosted by 3 officers, held at gunpoint because of quote-unquote mistaken identity, right? So too often we see a common thread where officers are scared, mistaken identities, or just not doing proper police work, or they're escalating situations.
Or simply just don't even know the effing law.
Now, and I get it. A lot of people are saying, and I've seen a lot of black folks speak out, and to you who have, you are idiots. And this is why I'm going to call you an idiot. Yeah, that's me, Juan. I don't care. What's going on is I've seen people try to defend the fact that, oh, Rayshard Brooks was wrong, he deserved to die. No, he didn't. Because if those police officers didn't escalate the situation, they had no reason to cuff him. They had no reason to arrest him. They had no reason. And I'm sorry, when you're living in a situation like right now, Philando Castile, Ahmaud Arbery, Breonna Taylor, George Floyd, all these people being killed, you are a nervous wreck. We just put out a video on our soapbox, courtesy of Erro, where he talks about the checklist that he has to go through when a cop pulls him over, and the fake mask he has to wear. Not the one that protects people from COVID-19, but the one that makes him look more non-threatening as a black man. Why do we have to go through all these checklists and do all these things to keep from being accosted by the police when we've done nothing wrong, right? Some people can't be that calm. Some folks get frustrated, and we've seen countless videos of white Americans pointing guns at cops, spitting, cussing them out from the top of their head to the sole of their feet,
and they still have their life.
Or we've seen situations where they've killed whole churches, Dylan Roof, or they shot up whole theaters, or they shot up all schools with ARs, and somehow someone in a calmly manner gets this fragile-minded white boy, because that's the excuse that's always given, and then they want to use their history. We find that the Columbine shooting, we see that they're listening to Marilyn Manson and they're doing this. And somehow, it's not their fault that they listen to Marilyn Manson. We start looking at, well, why did Marilyn Manson make the music in the first place? It's not their fault that they take comic books too serious. It's comic books shouldn't be so dangerous. But when it's George Floyd being the victim, it's like, well, should we care because he did porn? Should we care because he tried to do something illegal with $20 worth of material? No, it does matter, because it's not for the police to be judge and jury and execution. Their job is to protect and serve. And if that man is not assaulting anything, if he's not committing any crime, you have no reason to even arrest him. It's a problem that they were even trying to arrest him in the first place. Beyond the fact that he gets killed, and I get it, he grabs a taser, he fights, but you know what? They should have just took their butt whooping like a man. Yeah, he was whooping the both of their behinds, and they couldn't take their butt whooping. Their life wasn't in danger. He had no intent to do bodily harm. He's running away with a taser, and you shoot him in the back. And I'm sorry, firing him is not enough. I want him to go to jail. The same way I would go to jail in Maryland, where we don't have stand your ground laws. If I shoot somebody in cold blood, my black behind will go straight to jail.
There's just too many police officers, in my opinion, who do not even know the law well. And I think in order for you to be a police officer, I think you need extensive training. Similar to that of the military, you need to have years. I want you to be in different practice scenarios of de-escalating situations. I want you to know, and I honestly I wouldn't even give every officer a gun, right? How I would do it is that...
Like London. They don't carry guns in London.
Yeah, most officers...
Only SWAT team.
I wouldn't get a gun. It's only certain people that I would give a gun, but I think they need to do serious trainings. And the last but not least, I think that every police city, especially depending upon your city, depending upon the demographic of the city that you are policing, you guaranteed need to have people who look like that demographic or come from that demographic.
Local policing.
I think that if Ray down the street has the credentials to be a police and he applies, it should be guaranteed that he is a police officer, because Ray more than likely is going to know how to de-escalate that situations in that community, other than somebody who's not familiar, because black folks, we're expressive with our hands, and when we do that, people want to shoot because they feel like, oh, you're reaching for a gun. No, black folks, we just talk expressive with our hands. But if you don't know, you're not familiar with the community, you're going to take that as a sign of threat. But I also think that with the police, there's some kind of neurological.
Well, it's a psychological, I think would be more appropriate.
Or a psychological issue. Or,
it's a disconnect.
I guess the reason why I say, because the science in their mind is that if I tell you something, you obey. And I think that there's like an underlying tone when it comes to white folks who are giving commands to black folks. Is you do what we tell you to do. You don't question us. And the moment you question and or actually know the law better than them, then they get extremely frustrated, and they themselves become a little more belligerent, because it's like, you're black, you stay in line, you don't question me. I'm the law, I make the decision, and I tell you what to do. And yeah, you may know something, but because I'm the one with the gun and I'm the one with a more authoritative position, you do what I tell you to do.
And Herman makes a good point here. He said, did they not reverse their decision only after the fact? We don't need their coffee that bad. Yeah, and he's talking about Starbucks. And,
I don't have things that people doing these days. People doing all types of things I didn't ask for. I don't need you washing people's feet who black. I don't need you crying, saving tears for at home. I don't need you making streets. I don't need you necessarily coming to protest. What I need for you to do is to vote in my interest, and for you to be an ally and an advocate for during conversations when I am not present. That's what I need you to do. Check your mama, check your auntie, check the C-suite when they're making decisions about black folks and we're not there. Advocate that somebody gets a seat at the table, and vote in the interest of all people when it comes time to. That's what I need you to do. All these other little grand gestures don't mean hilly beans, okay? Don't mean hilly beans.
And I will say this to some of the gestures. Some people don't know any better but to do the gesture, because maybe that's all they're being advised to do. Because in some cases, you're making some people make a big deal about the gestures. But if you're watching the Nitty Gritty show, we want to challenge you to be beyond that. If you're in a position in the corporate world, right? I don't need you to give me Juneteenth off. And there's some people that will advocate for that, and they're not wrong for asking. Let me make that clear. But me personally, there's only 3 things a company can do for me, right? 1, make sure that my work environment is not hostile, right? Don't judge me for my beard, but then the guy next to me has a beard, right? Don't say that something about my hair doesn't look professional because of the way it naturally grows out of my head, right? Don't cause me to do damage to my hair so it can look more like you or the people around you, right? So don't make my workplace hostile. And when I make comments without my culture that aren't offensive, right? But if I refer to Snoop Dogg, or if I refer to music or anything of that nature, don't make me feel bad for my culture and reject it, so that way we can better celebrate the Garth Brookses of the world, because that's what you do, right? Don't make my environment hostile. The second thing is, pay me the same way you pay my white counterparts if there's a difference in pay. And I think a company should be open, American companies should be open to having their books open or reviewed, and we should be able to see, like, hey, look, are you paying people right across the board? Are you paying the gay person the same amount of money? Are you paying the black person the same amount of money? Are you paying women the appropriate amount of money, right? Because there's a lot of pay issues within companies. Fix that. I could care less if you donate money. Make sure everybody's being paid correctly across the board. And then the third thing you do is have representation at the C-suite and at the various leadership levels. I don't need you to give me a diversity and inclusion seat. No, I want a real seat. CEO, COO, something to that matter. I want to see more black vice presidents and senior vice presidents and district managers. If you have whatever those roles are that you have, let's see representation there, and not the person who talks like you, i.e. Carson. You know, you know what I'm saying? No, the person who will actually challenge you to see things you didn't see, because inevitably your company will make more money by having different eyes on a project. I like it.
Not the respectability, not the, well, they're softer on the eyes, they look a little white, they look closer to white.
Don't give me another Candace Owens. Get a Dr. Umar Johnson who's going to dig up your behind. At the end of the day, guess what? Your company will be more profitable, right? And then when it comes to your municipalities, we have to be smart. Like when we look at the executive branch, we need to think more about taxes and veto power, right? And we need to think about how government monies are spent. When we're having the conversation about reparations, the federal level is a good place to have it. I think that's when you bring that stuff before Biden. When you start talking about making certain laws, hate crimes like lynching and all that, that's a good conversation to have at the federal level. And then you need to have a trickle down effect and have it at the state level. But when we start talking about policing, that's a state conversation or a local municipality conversation.
Well, can I say that I feel like there should be some laws though about policing that are at the federal level, because when you think about laws in Georgia, they're very different than laws in Ohio, or very different than laws in New York, which is why activists have a very difficult time sometimes bringing justice to different people who have died, because the laws are just so different. I think there needs to be. But
that's why we have to do something at the local level still, because look.
Yeah, I get that, but I guess what I'm suggesting is I think there should be some type of federal law, maybe not a lot, but a few, that would still govern and reign more over the state. So in the event things are not operating correctly in that state, they can then have something to come in and say, this was wrong. For example,
said, no, not Candace.
To say this is wrong. As an example, the stand your ground law. There's nothing that is protecting a citizen from that, or a law about lynching. It wasn't even considered a hate crime. So there's no law to
still not considered a hate crime.
Right. So there's no law to go into a court and.
But see, that would be more so federal oversight. But to have the immediate effect, that conversation has to have a deeper meaning to the people you vote for. Councilman, your sheriff, your congressman at the local level. You have to have a deep. Like, when I say your congressman, like your state senators, your state congressmen, right? Because there's two different types. You have those that represent you federally, and there's those that represent you at your state's Capitol Hill, right? And you need to know both. And also, I was just having this conversation over the phone recently. I think it's important that you know firsthand, you know the face, and you shake the hand of someone you're voting for at the local level. If someone wants to be your councilman, you should have had the opportunity to shake his hand and ask him questions. He or she, right? If someone wants to be your congressman, he or she should have had a conversation with you, or you should find out where you can go have a conversation with them if they're going to earn your vote. They need to know your face. And especially if you're fighting for your right as a black person, you need to make sure they know your face. They need to know your face at the PTA. They need to know your face at the community meetings. This is how you affect change, real change, and there needs to be a strategy behind the things that we voice at the right time. And I know that might sound difficult. You're like, well, they should just do it. But you know what? Those people fighting against you, they're having to go through the proper channels as well. So we have to fight the correct fight. I just think we need to be strategic about how we go about things. That's all.
See, the thing is, I think that you're right. I think there should be voting on the state level, and there should definitely be laws at the state level. The only reason why I still want some covering or protection at a federal law is because I do think people are so, they'll create heinous crimes and be so methodical. I can see somebody kidnapping somebody from one state, taking them to another, and say, well, I didn't kill them in that state. I killed them in this state. In this state, they don't.
But then when you're talking about murder, then that's something that can be escalated federally. But when we're talking about police.
I know. I just want, even when it comes to police, I just want there to be something from a standard across all states, because this is the United States of America.
Yeah.
And that standard to be in place, so in the event the state law fails us, we still have some kind of covering at the federal level. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, but the term that people need to understand is you're asking for federal oversight of police.
Yes, I am.
You get what I'm saying? Because if you're saying we want to change policing laws, what's going to happen is some senators, somebody's going to tap dance around it and be like, well, that's not really our peer review. But what we can make your peer review is federal oversight of police.
Yes.
You get what I'm saying?
Of all police.
Exactly. And that's why we have to understand the law where it is, so that way we can affect change from within it. And we have to have a strategy. I think sometimes we just ask the wrong things to the wrong person,
hey,
and then we become, yo, what's up? And then we get frustrated when things are not being done because we're asking the wrong person. You get what I'm saying? One of the biggest ways to start making your police more effective is you need to know who your local commissioner is, right? Or you need to start doing things about your state police. That makes a change. What's up? Hey, we see you. Herman makes a good point here as well. He says, speaking of lynching laws, why is not the KKK designated as a terrorist organization in this country?
That is crazy.
And they are a terrorist organization. And these are the things that you bring up at the federal level and the local level. Speaking of that, you're in Tennessee. We see that they're trying to take down the bust of, I can't remember the individual's name now. It escapes me, but it's right downtown Nashville. And I know they're advocating to have his bust removed because this guy was a slave owner. He was a grand wizard or something like that within the KKK. And yeah, we shouldn't be celebrating folks like that. And while we're talking about the KKK and the Confederacy and all that, let's make this clear. I remember you talked about this meme earlier, but it's a true fact. The Confederacy lasted for 4 whole years, guys, right? And then the other thing that ticks me off is everybody, NASCAR recently, they said they're removing the Confederate flag from their events and all that kind of stuff.
Why was there in the first place?
Should have been there in the first place. People keep on saying, oh, it's heritage, not hate. No, the whole meaning was hate. And let's make this clear, and I've done a video on it before. I might do another one. The Confederate flag is not even the flag you see them bouncing. That flag that you see with the little bars and stars crossed over, that's the Confederate battle flag for the states of Tennessee and Virginia, where the generals of those armies said the only reason for this fight, as far as they were concerned, talking about the Civil War, was for slavery. Now, I shouldn't say that we all know, but what you should know is that the Civil War wasn't fought over slaves. I know that's the cute little story they glance over for people in high school and middle school and all that, but it was about finances and power, right? When it came to farming versus industry that we've seen primarily in the North, right? But it wasn't a war about slavery. Slavery was a byproduct of it. The Emancipation Proclamation was a byproduct of the Civil War, but it wasn't the reason for the war. But however, there were individuals in the South that said their reason for fighting was to protect slavery so they can maintain their slaves to run their crops, because that's how they became rich and powerful, because of free labor. So with that in mind, and because most people do have it wrong, since you look at it the wrong way, that should be more reason for you to know that the Confederate flag that you're flying is that more offensive. Where is the heritage of that? You're supposed to be Americans. You are the same people that get flags for July 4th. You're the same people as a counter-protest to me dying for no reason other than being harassed by some kind of cultural bias by police. You guys are the ones that bring up military and police, but if you really love your military, your United States military, united having a root in a union, why are you supporting the Confederate? Those troops no longer exist. They're no part of this country. There is no reason in your earthly mind to support the Confederacy. What kind of American are you? I challenge anyone watching this chat, please share this video. And if you're such a Southerner, you explain to me how you can support the Confederate flag and be a true American if you live in the United States, having a root word in union. Okay? Explain that to me. And if you don't like it, you go back to Europe. You can't stay here in this country because we're the United States of America, not the Confederate. They didn't win. I'm sorry, you lost your war.
Well, Juan, since we are going towards...
I went on a soapbox, I know.
Since we're going towards the end of the show, where do you suggest people get themselves educated, or what advice would you, what closing remarks would you give people on how to deal with this time that we're in right now?
First of all, I would say, continue to read and educate yourself. The great news is Amazon and Netflix, and I think countless other streaming services are putting movies out there like Just Mercy for free. Brian Banks for free.
I just watched Brian Banks yesterday, guys. I had no idea about his story. Really, really good story. Really quick. On his way to becoming in the NFL, got wrongly accused of rape, had to go to jail for 6 years. Reached out to like this initiative of this law practice, and they were able to get his story in front of the media, and then he was able to get exonerated. They were able to turn over the verdict, but the beautiful part about the story is that he must have been such a bomb athlete because he still ended up getting into the NFL. Was on record as being one of the oldest rookies to ever make the NFL period. He was 28 years old by the time he got in the NFL. So it didn't have a college degree, but the coaches remembered him from high school and just being such a good person. And then because of his experience, he actually worked with the guy that helped him get out of law. He still works with him.
Away.
Well, okay, I won't give any more. But it's a really good movie.
I think you should check it out.
It's called Brian. It's free on Amazon Prime. It's called Brian Banks' Story. It's really
and there are countless shows like the 13th. There are various documentaries available on Netflix and Amazon. They are free right now.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so take advantage of that. For those that don't like to read, you have that. But if you do read, you can check out people like we had him on the show. He did Tim Wise. He did Rich Like White Like Me. There's people like Dr. Umar Johnson who has some great information on education in America.
Can we call in? We do have a phone.
I have the phone. I didn't even set it up. So next episode. Well, no, not next episode. Next episode.
You can call in through here, right? Isn't it like a halfway? Ryan, you can call in on. Okay.
Yeah. So no, we'll get you next time we have to call in. We are gonna have call-ins available soon. That next episode. It'll be the way next episode. All right. But yeah, take advantage of that free knowledge. Also, good brother, Dr. Rayshard Way. He's actually the director of sociology here at the University of Maryland. We've had him on the show a few times. Mm-hmm. Go follow him, Dr. Rayshard Ray. He's also a fellow at the Brookings Institution. He puts out all kind of studies that he's done about racism, and he's a great source of education. We know him personally. There are so many ways to be educated, but those are some of the few I would have you check out. Also, just a reminder, next week is also Father's Day, so we're going to have a special show where we're going to play Taboo.
Oh, Father.
Yeah.
And we're going to play, because I love the song, To Dance With My Father Again with Luther.
Okay, we'll have that on the record playlist. Also, want to shout out to all the cities who are removing various Confederate memorabilia. Shout out to NASCAR for removing that from them. I know that took a lot of guts considering their fan base, but that took courage. And you know what? Them folks still gonna watch some cars go around the track. So I don't know why they pretending to be fake mad. You know what I'm saying? Mala said, yes, Luther. That's funny.
I know.
So yeah. So
Luther is a black icon in the
community. So yeah, we're gonna look forward to having you guys next weekend. Like I said, we're gonna be playing Taboo. Gonna have a good time. Tell everybody. Let them know though if you're gonna be playing Taboo with us. Normally, I would say share the video, and that's cool. But if you want to see if you want us to see your comments, if you want to play games with us, you have to be on the actual Nitty Gritty page when you're watching the show. You just can't be watching and share for those occasions. Okay.
And then on Friday, I think it's only befitting since it's Juneteenth that we do an hour of a mix of we just play some music, right? And get everybody in the vibe, you know?
Yeah. Who knows? We might go live on Friday and throw a little music.
Get everybody in the vibe.
You know what I'm saying?
Whoa.
Yeah, we might have a little. We might find a little barbecue with you guys on Juneteenth. We'll figure out something, or maybe just check our live page. We'll be at Mochella. You know what I'm saying? So check us out there. We're gonna have a good time. It's gonna be Backyard Band and Rare Essence. Look, we gotta get out of here.
Okay.
I was feeling some neo soul today, so I was like, you know what? I want to play some Erro Roberson, brother from out of. Well, actually, I think he's from Jersey, but he got his bones in DC. You know what I'm saying? This is Erro Roberson. The song is Been in Love featuring Phonte from Little Brother. For all my Little Brother fans. Mochella or Million Man Mo is supposed to be the 19th. This
Friday.
This Friday, okay?
Downtown DC?
Yeah, I believe it's downtown DC.
You have information?
I'll post the information to IG and Facebook.
We'll post it.
Once again, Erro Roberson. The song is Been in Love featuring Phonte. This is off his Left album from 2007. I love some Erro Roberson.
Yes, you do.
Okay, yeah.
You do love Erro Roberson.
Look, we want to thank you guys for joining us. Shout out Florida, shout out Indianapolis, shout out Clarksville, shout out Maryland, shout out DC, shout out KC. Anybody who was on with us today, we love you guys, we appreciate you. It's your boy, Jay DeCosta.
And it is your girl, Kat.
And together we are the Nitty Gritty. We out, thank y'all, love you. Hey, I've never been remembering when we were just friends. Wish I had a time machine to go back then.